compositions.
I mean,
you can run it.
You certainly can run it, yeah. It's not like Volskaya where that does seem to just be the best composition to run. And I think it's interesting that none of the teams in the group stage have chosen to take us to Horizon Lunar Colony, which has had some recent changes, so perhaps teams are not as familiar with it. We've seen a lot of Anubis this Bangkok stage, so teams really know how their opponents are going to play on it, what compositions they're going to use, and this favors the more prepared team overall, I think, and the team that can play a range of compositions, so no wonder that Denmark has taken them here.
Can't wait to see Reinforce's Symmetra coming out, you know.
He's famous for it. I mean, Thailand ran it earlier. Thailand ran it against them.
They got rolled.
That's true, but it did look cool.
They did not. It was a very cool strategy. I was speaking to Jake actually about Junkrat. Shocker there, isn't it? You know, shocker. Jake and Junkrat.
Is he the only hero?
Possibly. I don't want to throw too much shade at him. I know he can't hear us in the green room, but he was saying to me how a lot of teams, they don't actually realize the meta when it comes to placing traps. Where you're supposed to place your trap a little bit further behind, so it launches them into your trap. We're going to see if they can actually get any value out of this. The Venom Mine does get triggered in the end. Shaq's going to be able to see just about where, I believe that was Sharp, hiding around the corner.
Yep, and for the aim of the game for Sweden is to get Sharp and Tvik into position before the tanks of Sweden engage. So this is how you counter this Orisa Junkrat defense with the Mercy. So you need to get your divers in position around this side, distract Shax before they come in, and now they engage.
Launch straight into the fray, onto the high ground. But Johnny is trapped up, caught in the Junkrat trap. Not ideal. Sweden gonna have to reset this one. Sleep onto Kellex, so he's gonna be sleeping on the job. But I know Sweden, they're gonna be trying it, well, they were trying to set up a bit of a dive attempt as well. A couple of their players just sort of hiding in the nooks and crannies here of Anubis. As you can see, Tvik just sneakily walking around.
And Sharp is behind them as well, so they've got their DPS players in position, but they've now been seen, so they need their tanks to engage quickly. Tvik onto the lower of the two high grounds as his tanks go top, but Sharp with the pick on it, Kellex, that's enormous.
That's exactly what you need when you bring down that Mercy. It's ideal. Tvik going to be just about escaping on 23 HP there. Johnny sleeping up top, going to be leaping away. He's still alive. Danny not managing to bring him down. In fact, now he's going to start using the heals. It's going to be a nice and easy cleanup here for Sweden. Good initiation, good engage.
Surprisingly well coordinated from Sweden, actually, but which is better than what we've seen from them in the previous matches. Even when I compliment them, I throw a bit of shade,
man.
But I'm interested to know how Kellex side, because he's actually been caught out quite a bit in this match so far. He has been the first pick in a number of situations where you wouldn't expect it.
Well, this is going to be imperative now that Tvik gets value out of this one, because currently Denmark have no defensive support ults in the slightest. Might be able to bash him, might be able to pack him up, but here we have it. Shark going to be initiating with the EMP. Here comes the blade with the sleep. Oh my goodness, good night, sweet prince. Ding going to be happy with that one, and they take him out. Ding's built up the nano boost, and now Sweden, you just got to get out of there. You got to take your losses, you know, just reset back out of the fight. That was beautiful, though, by Ding.
It was, but of all the things that Sharp is trying to get in the EMP, the Ana's abilities are one of the most important. And Ding was just hiding behind a pillar, really nice, able to avoid the line of sight that is required to hack with the EMP. And Sharp didn't get the value out of it that he needed. That combination is so good normally. EMP into Nanoblade, but this could be huge as well. Kellex hacked, manages to get back up onto the high ground, even without his abilities available. Tvik instead has made the move over to the Reaper, so much more of a straightforward approach.
Yeah, they've been really liking this Reaper pick on this last point of Anubis at least, but Nerf's going to be the recipient of the nano boost, just kind of push Sweden away from the point for the time being. He's going to back off the rest of them. He's got that armor on top of him, and now it's time for Sweden to engage this one in. Nerf gets absolutely deleted there by Tvik with a help of that sleep dart as well from Chips. Now we're going to try and take this fight. Nano is going to be used onto them. Tvik going to be seeing if he can hit any of these shots now, trying to chunk down a couple of these players. Now here comes the Deathblossom straight into the fray, but he's only found the one kill. Point still not being capped up, and now it's Denmark's turn to reinitiate in here. In the meantime, Sweden are finding a few picks into the back lines. The supports of Denmark are being pressured down. We're going to see that soundbar now being used by Sweden as they look to really sort of tail in this fight and turn it into their favor. Kellex falling is really ideal for them, and Tvik still alive, pounding in the damage with the Hellfire shotguns.
Danny's trying to pick on a reinforced zone with Chips down, that so much of the healing disappeared. Things were looking so good from Sweden, but Denmark kept the point contested the entire time. And although Sweden got all the picks in the world, all the kills you could possibly want, they did not secure even one tick there. They really did win the fight for a long time, but couldn't clear bodies off the point. They did a great job at splitting Denmark so that there was 2 supports on one side and 4 on the other side, but they couldn't get the picks on the guys that were contesting the point. They just dived a little too greedily into either side.
It's a little bit too greedy, a little bit too deep.
Just like the dwarves.
Just like the dwarves and Lord of the Rings. Thank you, John. Glad we're on the same wavelength. But now Sweden, they've opted for this triple tank, triple support that they're so comfortable with. We'll see what they can do. Slamming themselves into the fight, into the side of Team Denmark. But Nerf, he's got that nano boost and he is absolutely melting them with that Tesla cannon. Primal Rage in hand as well, which means that he can really disrupt the back line whenever he chooses to. Holding a bit weak there, pinned up, but he's still being healed. And Denmark, they don't even need to use it. They are finding these picks regardless of what's happening.
They certainly are, and Luddy's already disengaged. Goes back to pick up chips. They're both going to have their ultimates available, and now Sweden, they've gone off the Reaper. They switched back to this triple tank, triple support. But Denmark are applying so much pressure in the choke point that Sweden had to use a lot of their really important abilities, use their resources at the choke instead of being able to save them for when the fight happened on the point. It looks like it's going to be used aggressively here.
They could go very aggressive. In fact, the entirety of Denmark is playing hyper-aggressive into them. The hack is not going to be able to get off there by Shax. He's looking for it. Fortunately, not able to do it, but still Denmark looking like they might want to play this one. No, the rotation back onto the point now. Sweden going to be using their rally prematurely just to build up that armor before they choose to re-engage into this one. And now it's goal time. Straight into them for Fischer. He's going to get that nano boost. Barraged up. Defense Mage is going to be keeping him nice and safe, tucked away from a lot of that damage. He's going to be pumping it into them right now. Denmark are finding all the picks straight off the back of that one. It's looking like it's not able to be turned around by Sweden, but going to do a good job of trying it at least. Sharp's still alive. They can keep him up. Not quite. Could have potentially used that Graviton Surge to turn this one down, but I think, in my educated opinion, Josh, this is another reset.
It certainly is another reset. I don't know how he quite figured that one out so early. But again, this is resource management. Because they applied so much pressure early on to Sweden, Manitin had used almost all of his defense matrix, being able to usher his team around the left-hand side. That means that when Fischer used his barrage, there was nothing to block it other than the shield coming out from Reinforce and Tvik. And those shields got melted and then they did a lot of damage. Removed all of the armor that Tvik had spent ages building up. These dives, this constant aggressive pressure from Denmark has to be dealt with. They need to pressure people away. They maybe need a composition switch, because at the moment there's no pressure on Fischer. He can do whatever he wants and they have to use abilities to be able to stop him. So now Tvik over on the McCree. I think this is a reasonable choice, even though it does make their composition overall a little weaker. It's a direct, it directly puts pressure on Fischer and forces him to drop back a little bit so that the rest of Sweden can enter the choke point more easily.
Not just Fischer, but also Shax as well. If he collapses a flashbang onto him, and to me, he hits his shot. That is exactly what he was looking for there. Takes out Fischer, forces out the Resurrect. That's 30 seconds cooldown now. Graviton Surge from on high. I mean, that is not ideal. You don't want to be seeing that happen.
Sharp again using a Graviton Surge that, yes, it catches people, but who can possibly follow up? You've got a composition that excels on sticking to the ground. Reinforce can't do any damage there. Sharp really can't do any damage there. Manitin, none of the Team Sweden can follow up on a Graviton that is just been attached to the Empire State Building.
Last ditch effort. 20 seconds, Josh. Do or die time. EMP in hand. Shank's going to be getting the hack onto Ludi, which means no longer able to really contest with the rest of his team. You can see ults being used now, though, by the rest of Denmark. EMP's laid out, but it seems like it is going entirely in the way of Denmark. Finding so many picks here. Fischer not even falling. Probably going to get that one as well. There you go. Tvik's fallen, and that is a lovely hold by Denmark. They're playing some lovely Overwatch. Very aggressive, taking a proactive approach, not really letting Sweden take the point, you know, or any positioning in the slightest.
Not at all. And they've abused the fact that Sweden only really feel comfortable on these triple tank, triple support compositions. It's not the greatest on Anubis. There's no way of being able to deal with these forwardly holding aggressive defenses. Instead, if you ran something like Genji Sombra or Genji Doomfist, these kind of more mobile compositions that can contest the high ground, force people away, and then have big ultimates like the Nanoblade and EMP, that could have worked for them. And instead, they go back to their default, play the triple tank, triple support, and Denmark crushed them. You saw Luddy at the end there, hacked up, so he can't use his sound barrier, which was the most important ultimate that Sweden had, then EMP'd, so that he couldn't use his sound barrier, and then killed. I mean, the poor guy just got bullied. He's only young. Give him a break,
he's a young
then.
lad, please.
Give him a break.
Cyberbullying fined.
But this was a great map choice, I think, overall from Denmark. They look much more comfortable than Sweden do. And you can see the difference between when Sweden are comfortable and when these triple tank, triple support compositions are able to work well for them, and here, and on Lijiang, where they're not.
Yeah, well, we're going to be seeing the new and improved Symmetra just shortly before Tvik switches off. They're just going to be using the teleporter to get up to that high ground. In the past, back in my day, Josh, you had to use a Mei wall for that.
Back in my day.
Back in my day.
I remember when you couldn't even get up to the high ground.
It was hard, you know? You can't coordinate that in ranked. People don't even know where to stand. You had to like walk in each other's hitboxes. Very difficult.
And now with the new and improved Symmetra, which Thailand tried to run.
Didn't work out.
If you're a fan of Symmetra, go back and watch that VOD.
Yeah.
If you're a fan of Team Sweden, go back and watch that VOD as well. If you're a fan of Carnage, continue to watch this.
There you go. We'll see what they can do now as Denmark are on the attack. They got that high ground sorted. Again, these are risk compositions, and Sweden going to be looking to put a stop to whatever Denmark are running, any tomfoolery. See, they are actually running a Widowmaker. Ding's going to be trying to win this 1v1, but Sharp is tucked away behind this Orisa shield, so he could have a hard job of really achieving much. But the real power in this comp is the fact that they've got these mobile heroes just taking positioning.
That's true. Denmark running the triple support, so triple DPS, sorry. Absolutely demolished Tvik. Kellex is the only healer. That's the weak point for Denmark, but now that there's no pressure on Ding, he's got sightlines all the way in as well. Manaton does well to demech Danny, take out Fisher, so they may have been able to stop this. And now they've realized that Kellex is the only healer. They take him out. Ding has not found any picks so far. In fact, dies the Sharp, and Sweden have dealt with this one well, despite a well-executed initiation from the red and white.
Tasty little initiation there coming out from Sweden, being able to salvage that operation. Fortunately forced up the high ground now, so they have to play a little bit closer, but Denmark will be getting their respawn soon, and Ding has switched over to the Ana now, so he's not going to be running the Widowmaker. Sweden have also got a couple of ultimates of their own.
We certainly do. We'll see.
Oh, that's nice.
That is absolute destruction. You can play this Junkrat very aggressive. EQO, Profit, these are the two best Junkrats for my money in the world at the moment, or were at the point of the Overwatch League. And they both play a much more aggressive style than a lot of other Junkrats do, and you can get big value out of it. Here comes Denmark again with a Genji Tracer.
Into the backline, Tvik sends out the mine, brings down Fisher, and again, these picks have been crucial for Denmark to really, or for Sweden, I should say, to really get this defense going.
Sharp knows exactly where you are.
He does indeed. Tvik's just waiting as well for the recall. Intelligent plays all around.
That's a very optimistic pulse bomb that Shax uses there as well. I wonder if they're going to
switch?
Make a change. At that point, you just make a switch out of embarrassment, maybe. No, he's going to stay on it. The pulse bomb, not the most effective ultimate in the world to break the Swedish defense. It's all about the positioning and where Fisher and Shax come from. But I'm really not sure why Shax isn't on Sombra, because the EMP is so much more effective as an ultimate. You can get in much more easily.
Well, Blade being used now by Denmark. It's their last ditch ever, but Looney brings him down. He's out of the fight now. This is looking excellent for Team Sweden. A minute 20 seconds on the clock. They should easily be winning the rest of this team fight out. Even with a tire, I don't think he even really needs to use it. They can just focus down the rest of these players. And there you go, Bob's your uncle. They're going to be holding back onto the high ground here. Sweden are in a very, very good position right now. They've got Tvik's tire to really stall this one out, a nano boost which they can now use onto reinforce once he gets back into the fight. That is the only downside, is that they lost their Orisa, they didn't have a Resurrect available, which means Johnny's going to be late getting back into this fight.
It looks like Denmark gave up on their VOD review session of Anubis before getting into the offense. They're just running down the middle every single time. This time, there's no Orisa. Reinforcers had the nano boost as well, and Sharp gets the initial pick.
Well, we're going to see what else he can do. Tvik got no value out of his own ultimate. To see a couple of trades going their way, but it doesn't even matter because they seem to be winning this fight out regardless. Fisher ends up going down. They do get the Resurrect onto Nerf, which means they brought their main tank back up, but it's too little, too late because Sweden are winning this fight out of an overwhelming fashion. Shax is just meeting his maker. Just your mind is being blown. What are we witnessing here? 20 seconds remaining, and Denmark just seem to be absolutely falling to pieces.
You can't keep pushing the same way every time, and they shouldn't have been running the Genji Tracer to begin with.
Oh,
teams that are the best at Anubis attack have to set up their positioning before they dive, and instead Denmark are just running to the point like they want to take it through sheer force of will. They're getting destroyed.
It has to be a big blade now from Fisher. 57 HP, but he gets moved back, and the mine around the corner. I don't believe what I've just seen. Oh my goodness. Sweden are taking Denmark the distance. Oh boy.
Sweden know what they're doing on Anubis 8-point defense, it must be said.
Yes.
It was a good defense from Sweden. They got value out of the Junkrat. Sharp was hitting his shots on the Widowmaker. But there is a well-known way of breaking that defensive composition. And I'll tell you something for free, Brian. It's not just by running down the middle with Genji Tracer every single time.
No consultant fees for that one.
No, absolutely not. But I don't really understand what happened there from Denmark. I do believe that was an incredibly winnable map for them with how good they were in the point D defense, and they really should have had a better attack on point A. You can't be getting full held in those situations, and you can't just be running the same thing again and again, butting your heads against a brick wall.
Definition of insanity.
It
really is. You
is
don't know that reference. You don't know.
No, I do know the reference. I just don't think it's
minimal
true.
reference game. This guy is actually terrible to cast with. You come out with some sayings, and it's just lost on you.
I'm not sure you know any other sayings.
No, I probably don't, honestly. I'm not going to lie. But what does this do now for Denmark and their chances now because of qualifying for BlizzCon? Because now they've lost the second map to a team that, realistically, we were saying coming into this that Sweden are the underdog.
They certainly
and now,
were.
You know, they're currently losing. They're one map down.
If Denmark lose this, it looks like they're out because they theoretically, I think, still could make it. I'm not 100% sure if they lose very closely. But Denmark, they needed to win this game.
Yeah.
So they can theoretically still make it if they lose 2-3, but it's so unlikely. Denmark really should have been trying to win this game. It could have been a 4-0 for them. Australia 4-0'd Sweden. Denmark were looking really good in all of those games. So I think this was a very winnable series for Denmark. It still is, but at the moment they're not performing like they'd want to.
This is going to make it nice and easy because it's Denmark's map pick, and now they're going to Gibraltar, a map where you really cannot run these triple tank, triple support compositions. Again, you're taking away the comfort picks from Sweden. If Denmark were to do it, if they were to come back and win this one, or even just bring it to the map 5, you know, this is where it begins, on Gibraltar itself. So they're making the appropriate map picks, but yeah, it's a big question mark in the chat, really, as to what Denmark's game plan was on that previous one. Let's see if they can turn it around, though.
This, again, is another map where, like you're saying, the triple tank, triple support is not particularly viable. And so we'll see something interesting coming out from Sweden. We'll see how well they can play some different compositions that have, for example, Reinforce playing the Genji. No, that isn't.
Why is Johnny so much further back in his camera as well?
He's got very long arms.
He is. He's a large lad.
Reinforce is like he took a normal-sized human being and stretched him out like he was made of toffee.
He is actually grossly huge.
He is, and a lot of the other players on Sweden, surprisingly for a Scandinavian country, are quite short. Fixed little guy.
Yeah, he is. Well, we're not gonna talk about that, Josh. We've already done enough cyberbullying on this cast. We can't be doing more. All right. I am questioning though. What is his positioning right now? Not in game, but just like how is he managing this?
I'm not quite sure.
Like, why is he so far back?
I think it might just
miles back. He's in China.
I don't think he is in China. He's in Thailand, Brent. We're all in Thailand.
Are we?
Let's
okay.
You're having one of your moments again. Denmark on the defense at the moment are running this classic Widowmaker with the Brigitte. So they're expecting more of a dive comp to come out from Sweden, and instead they are wrong.
Sweden, okay. Interesting, double shields. Sharp on the Roadhog. All right, okay.
I think Sweden are essentially saying, come and dive us on the cart, we dare you.
Yeah, they really are.
We have so many shields. Sharp's going to do a lot of damage to you. They're going to have to find either great engages onto Chipsine and Ludi, or change their composition. But Denmark at the moment seem to be retreating
very far back
and trying to come up with a plan.
Well, they switched Fisher over to the Junkrat now to try and break these shields. They recognize they need a bit of spam damage, but is it going to be enough right now? Sweden still slamming this one forward, and they're focusing down the targets. Sweden having an absolute field day with this one. They switch Shax over to the far as well, but Kellex gets brought down right in the nick of time. Sweden are having a field day once again. I'm going to come out with the same line twice in a row because people don't really listen to the cast anyway. But they are doing it.
Speak over on the Orisa, and I know they'll be happy to play this one. Reinforce for a long time has wanted to put Spik over on a tank hero as the flex DPS so that they can play these triple tank compositions or quad tank as they're playing at the moment. But it's a very different quad tank to the one that we're expecting. Normally quad tank is super mobile. This one is just a stationary position. Sweden are playing defense right now. They're saying, come and attack the payload and we will defend it.
The issue is, though, not really much to deal with Shax here, especially when he's being pocketed and he's got a bar. Now we can see the coalescence being used by Chips. Going to see if he can start to pressure down a few of these plays. Manatee going to be contesting the high ground. Kellex goes down again. Very big ball up, but that's going to be the hook miss, but does not matter. Supercharged up Sharp with the right clicks, brings him down, but still Denmark having a decent attempt at trying to win this one out. They are getting a couple of picks here and there and everywhere. Sharp though slept up anti-nade, which means he is once again going to be meeting his maker. So Denmark, they get a defense.
They get a defense, and now what does Sweden do? Because you really can't approach the cart with an Orisa and a Reinhardt, I think. Are they really going to attempt to? No, they're making full swaps. So it's going to be Widowmaker, Tracer, kind of dive composition coming out from Team Sweden. And this is where Sweden may struggle because Denmark have now set up a defense. Shax is going back to the spawn, switching away from these spammy heroes that they used to break that interesting composition that Sweden began with. And to be fair, it got them a lot of time. And now it comes down to the Widow battle and how cleanly Sweden can engage with Spik and Reinforce.
Sweden are fast enough. They can take advantage of the fact that it might be a 5v6 whilst Shax is switching. But where is the peel? Nobody is in the back line for Sweden right now. Finally, they turn around, and there you go. We're turning around, baby. Okay, I'm feeling it. All right, Sweden, they're finally learning from their mistakes. Chip staying alive, which means they're setting themselves up in a decent position now to take this next team fight. Just question them forward a little bit. Sharp on the Widowmaker today. Oh my goodness, that's not ideal, Sunshine. Okay, Johnny will clean up after your mistakes, don't you worry. But still, going to be moving forward, leaks into the fight. Manatee going to get the D-Mech though, but now the Nano Boost. Oh goodness me, that's a Baby Diva. That's not good. And I believe this needs to be reset, but it's a scrappy one, Josh. I can't really tell.
Sharp's also going to pick onto Kellex here, so even though Sweden haven't had the best fight, if they dodge this tire, they can come back in. Reinforce goes down before the Primal Rage was activated. This Nano Boost, if they get value out of it, should stop the push. Should be a disengage from Sweden. But they've got a lot of value there where they probably shouldn't.
Okay, all right. Yeah, they forced out a couple of the ultimates. The Nano Boost was being used by Ting there. And Shax, my goodness, mate. Okay, someone's had their Weetabix this morning. There's a reference that only UK people will understand.
That's true. I tried to explain to somebody in the US what Weetabix was, and it just ended up sounding gross. It's just like a burger you make of ground up wheat.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not very good, really.
No, it's not. It's not. I do like to eat it, though.
There you go.
Gives you brain power.
Some niche British reference, cereal references.
At what time is it in the UK right now? Is it like 4 a.m.?
Probably.
There's a reference for all 2 of you that are watching this right now. Beautiful stick by Tavik, and they brought Kellex down as well a little bit earlier. This is wonderful for Sweden right now. Denmark got to try and pressure and take as much time off this card as humanly possible. Doesn't look like it's going to be doable, though. That is some great maneuvers there by Sweden to try and win that fight out.
And strangely, it's been Denmark with all the pressure on their backline recently. You would normally expect it to be Sweden. They haven't been so great at protecting Chips, Iron, and Ludi throughout the entirety of this tournament. But we saw earlier when you were calling for the peel, it did actually arrive coming out from Manatee and Tvik. And Denmark, a lot of this pressure has been on Kellex to the point where he can't really heal people, can't get in the right positions. He's been limited somewhat here. I feel like that's one of the reasons that Sweden are able to get back into this. But with their Widowmaker down, that's going to call a small reset, a little disengage as they just keep the cart rolling, but can't take any aggressive positions.
They did get a resurrect, which means they can take the fight once again. But there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Manatee in the back. There's the double kill with a South Strike. That probably shouldn't be happening, but it seems like Sweden are doing it. Danny's going to get D-mech'd. Another one team fight for Sweden. And Josh, I mean, they are showing no signs of slowing down in the slightest.
This is a great offense from Sweden. They've got all the ultimates they need to be able to close this one out as well. Tvik does have the recall available as well. Oh, really dancing with death, but chooses to use the Harmony Orb to keep him alive instead. Nerf comes out with the Primal Rage, but Sweden have got one of their own and a Transcendent, so if they can just melt Nerf here, which they certainly seem to be doing, they're in a decent position.
All right, it's going to mean that Reinforce, though, is the first one to go down. Tvik forced to use that recall. No kills really going the way of Sweden right now. They're struggling to find any openings into this fight. Maybe another Manhattan bomb, not quite. Not really getting the maximum value they were looking for here. They need to start winning these Widowmaker duels now. Sharp needs to start hitting these shots. Shax has been getting the better of them when it comes to it. But we'll see what they can do. And again, it seems like they are going to be losing this fight.
Just as Luddy uses the Valkyrie, chips high and gets headshot as well.
Ooh, okay, all right.
With a pulse bomb, just as the rest of his team resets.
I don't know, mate.
Maybe making changes there. It seems like that might be a composition change, because otherwise that pulse bomb utterly useless. What I disliked about Sweden's engagement when they had reinforced his primal range and his transcendence is that they didn't play aggressive enough. If you play very aggressive with the primal rage and use the trance to keep your own backline alive, that creates so much space for Sharp to get up top and to be able to free farm these targets. So now they've gone over to the double sniper. That's even more important. The tank line from Sweden must make space.
He messed up that sonic arrow there, but we'll see if he can get any of these shots done. Tanks contesting the high ground, and there you go, finally. Sharp opens it up with a shot onto Shax. They get the kills with us as well. They got to commit a resurrect onto at least one of these players here. Keller's going to be taking a fight to Vic, trying to win this 1v1. Trust me, to Vic, mate, I feel you, mate. It's hard to hit those Valkyrie Mercies. They're like bombs. You can't get them out your room, you can't get them out your game, but we'll see as Sharp continues to hit these shots straight in the heads. Still going to be finding them, getting the kills, getting the damage in. Vic is building up this Dragon Strike. Sharp hits another shot onto Calyx. Sweden might just be doing this one now. They're going to try and salvage it. Denmark with the South Destruct will bring down Chips, but is it enough? I don't think so. They've got nothing to contest this backline. Nurse going to try his best. He does take out Ludi, but not before going down himself. Still, an opening now, sideshow for Sweden.
A Dragon Strike has come through as well, splitting the team in half. But with Shax finding Sharp and then another pick on the Vic, he has just 1v2'd their double sniper composition and won the fight for Denmark there. Even so, the spawns were coming in. And with 7 seconds left, I'm not sure anyone's even going to be able to touch the point. Sweden tried, they had a good attempt at the end. Vic didn't hit enough shots, honestly, to be able to make that one viable, but still a fairly successful offense for Team Sweden. Very winnable still. They could lock up the series with a good defense.
Vic trying to start a fire at his computer. Not successful. Thankfully, the fire warden is on site. He's going to be stopping him, but...
I'd love to see Vic get sprayed with a fire extinguisher for trying to warm up his hands. Just the fire warden's a big Denmark fan. CO2 foam all in the face. Okay. I was like, so that was how he was able to do it.
We really want to play this replay of him missing his shot, but no, there you go. He did turn up in the end.
That was how Shax was able to completely stop the fight there in the final moments with a really nice flank. Doesn't happen as often with Sombra in the game because she can scout everywhere whilst remaining invisible. So the Widowmakers are much less likely to go for those aggressive plays, but of course when you're playing into double sniper, that's not really an option, and Shax certainly pays off that more high risk, high reward flank that he...
I love to play with a mega like that. You know, I'll save you from the tail end of that.
You keep feeding over and over again though.
No, I hit my shots, pal. Trust me.
I've never seen you hit a shot.
Yes, you have. Multiple times. We've queued together. The only reason you're staying in Diamond is because of me.
Yeah, otherwise I'd be in Grandmaster.
All right, okay. Twitch.tv/sideshow if you want to know the truth. Okay.
The truth will out. This is potential disaster here, though, for Denmark. If they lose this series, it's going to be heartbreaking. They were so close. They looked so dominant. Had a really close series against China. They looked like one of the best teams in the group. And to go home like this would be certainly a heartbreaker, because a 3-1 is a disaster for them in terms of their qualification prospects for BlizzCon. So they've really got to bring it on this offense, and they're starting out with the Brigitte Widowmaker, which they chose to run on the defense and had to quickly swap away from. But Shax can get a lot done with this Widow if he gets in the right positions, as we've seen
very
before.
well on this Widowmaker. Really, really impressed by him. And doing the business here, as we see. He can hit any shot, just has to duck his head up in the nick of time, really. There, Sharp's going to be taking it off shortly, but we'll see now if he's trying to win out this Widowmaker 1v1. Taking a very aggressive positions right round the corner. That's all you need. He gets the body shot, though, as well onto Ludi, but the resurrection will be committed anyway. Now Shax's going to be going for round number 2 here. Will he win it out in the end? Shoulder peeking, body blocked by his teammate. And if this was me in ranked, you know, I wouldn't be screaming because I'm PMA.
I don't believe that for a second. Battle through the forklift though, and both of these Widowmakers taking great positions where their Mercy can come in for a res, but of course on cooldown for a little bit longer.
Beautiful, okay. And they're setting up these kills. Any picks you can get right now. Okay, all right. Shaq's trying to prove me wrong. Tasty business. Widowmakers winning this out. And now Kellex going to be using his Resurrect onto Fisher to bring him back up. Denmark, it seems like they are winning this one. They're going to get the Resurrect back from the Sharp, and how much does one man really do? Especially being ran down like that, very low sliver of HP, and Nerf is easily able to just zap the rest of Sweden into submission.
Pretty decent, patient play coming out from both teams there, but it was certainly Shax who was winning the better end of the Widowmaker duel. Perhaps when Sharp initially got the pick onto Fisher, that should have instigated a fight. They've only just got their cooldown back off Resurrect. They certainly could have engaged a little more aggressively, Sweden. They needed whatever pick they could, and now they've swapped pick over to the Genji. But it's all about positioning once you get to this hangar stage. Momentum is so important because there's a big high ground in the middle, and Shax's again delivering with these headshots.
Yeah, he is really just slamming this one home right now for Denmark. This is what you need. You need these high momentum picks to change the pace of the game a little bit. Tvix made a switch over to Genji to try and have one more option of dealing with them, but infrared sight for both these teams, I believe. Now Tvix coming from behind. Shaq's going to be healed back up. Can Tvix get this kill? Yes, he can. Joker to the head will take him out, but it doesn't matter regardless because Denmark going to be using a lot of their tangles towards the Primal Rage to clean this one up. Nerf having an absolute field day. One of these guys that we've talked about and who's really stepped up in this World Cup has been nerfed. A lot of players underestimating him, and now he's showing up.
Definitely so. Luddy got picked by a self-destruct in the middle of that, just as Chipsine popped his Transcendence as well. So disaster for the backline from Sweden. Danny with a great timing on his self-destruct. Knew that players would be coming forward when the Transcendence was committed, and Luddy got caught out. Luddy had actually thought about switching over to Lucio there for a little while and has gone back over to the Mercy, able to damage boost Sharp. Putting all the eggs in the Sharp basket right now.
Still, Sharp needs to be able to hit these shots right now.
Don't put your eggs in Sharp baskets, by the way. That will just leave you broken eggs.
That will leave broken eggs. Good advice, Josh. You're always full of little nuggets of information like that. Well done.
Good safety advice.
Well, we'll see. Now Denmark going to be running themselves in here. Fisher's using that rally. Self-destruct to the bite. Shax goes down. It's going to be the one-for-one trade, though, in the end. And the Resurrects are also going to be used. So 6 players up for both these teams now. And Tvix, he has a blade. He's waiting for the shield blast. Will he opt to use it? Not quite. He's holding on to it. Now is the time to go, though, apparently. Deflect! Straight into the 1/2/3/4. Tvix picks up a whole slew of kills to the rest of his team. Tasty stuff indeed.
What an amazing Genji play coming out from Tvix. He's been so hit or miss for honestly the past couple of months and certainly this tournament. But when he's on fire, he is on fire. And skills like that cannot be denied. Great use of the Dragon Blade there, and that's bought enough time for the Transcendence and the Primal Rage for Sweden. They're in a decent position, but there's so much time on the clock. They did not have a good point A or B.
There is a lot of time. There's almost 4 minutes for Denmark to only cap this up to a short distance down the road. Can Sweden defend this one? Or will Denmark help their chances for qualifying for BlizzCon? Sharp forced to use the grapple away. Luddy goes down. That is huge. One less healer now for Sweden. They're still going to be seeing if they can bring this one in. We're going to see the Valkyrie used by Kellex. Both the support ults used by Denmark to try and defend this one, but they seem to be winning the fight out. Denmark are desperate to try and take this one to a map 5 right now. Nerf using his Primal Rage to just keep them locked away in the spawn. Manaton batters him back, using the sound destruct for brilliant bubble placements coming out by Nerf. Once again, blocks all the damage. And there you go. Denmark are desperately trying to take it to a map 5, and they do it.
They certainly do. Great offense coming out from Denmark. A guy that we haven't talked about too much, Danny. Just amazing self-destructs there. We already talked about the one in the hangar that completely destroyed Luddy just as Chips used his Transcendence. Well, he does it again. Danny threw in a really well-placed self-destruct just in those final moments. And it not only forced out the Transcendence from Chipsine, who would have died otherwise, but it killed Luddy as well.
Yeah.
So just neutralizing both supports with one bomb, that's massive plays coming out from Danny. And plays like that will win you maps.
I also like the way that Denmark in particular have been using a lot of these self-destructs. It's something that you see a lot of Overwatch League teams where they use the self-destruct, send it in, buy space to get Resurrects off as well.
Sure.
This is something that Kellex has been doing quite often, I've noticed as well, just to really buy them a lot of space. Kellex, I mean, despite the fact that he has been dying a lot in this series, it feels like, he has been getting picked off maybe unnecessarily at times. I feel like this World Cup stage he has been having a very good performance.
He certainly has.
Really showing why he is an Owl caliber player.
Yes, I think he was one of the best Mercies in the Overwatch League. He did end up dying in weird positions when he played for the Boston Uprising, but that's because of the way their team was structured. There's such an aggressive team that he was left without too much peel for him, and he just had a lot of jobs to be able to do. He had to go in aggressively with the Genji when he was there, had to save his Zenyatta in the backlines. But mechanically, and the way that he thinks about the game, I think Kellex is a very, very good Mercy. One of the best in the world. And I think part of what you get when you have Overwatch League players paired with very strong mechanical players from contenders is that guys like Kellex can come into Team Denmark and tell them little intricacies of how to help him benefit, how he can help them benefit. It should be what you're getting from Sweden as well, but it doesn't seem like it at the moment. Maybe there's a well, there certainly is. There is a massive knowledge difference, actually, between the guys at the bottom of Owl and the guys at the top of Owl. Like, Team Spain was saying this as well. When they had Neptuno helping them at the beginning of their preparation, they said, taught him a huge amount. Neptuno, really good head for the game. Obviously didn't play for Team Spain this time around in the World Cup, has done in the past, and they really benefited from the information that they were able to gather there. So I think credit to Kellex, as well as the coaching staff behind Denmark, for a lot of these adjustments and team play that you wouldn't expect to see from a bunch of guys who haven't been performing that well in contenders.
Oh, we're moving over to Nepal now. This is the final map of the series, and this has really gone the distance. I mean, coming into this match, I personally was expecting Denmark to take it in quite a dominating fashion, given what we've seen in Sweden in the past. I am pleasantly surprised that they've been managing to turn it around, despite the fact that Denmark may have been making a few mistakes here and there on these previous maps, on Hollywood, on Anubis. Still, I'm not going to take anything away from Sweden. They have been stepping up.
Yes, I think Lijiang was massive mistakes by Sweden. Then Hollywood was great play by Sweden. And then Anubis was horrible mistakes by Denmark. And then, so far, we've had an even series with a couple of maps that were where teams dropped the ball. But when we get to maps that are really good for both of these teams, we're seeing quite a high level of Overwatch. I have a feeling that Nepal will be good for both of these teams, actually. On this map, on Village, we've seen a really cool niche strategy from Fischer using the Mei, and Sweden are very comfortable here as well with their triple tank, triple support. In terms of how these compositions clash together, I would give the advantage to the team running the Mei. I think Fischer is going to be able to do a lot here.
See, if I was Sweden right now as well, though, I'd recognize that, you know, Fischer's been prioritizing the Mei quite a lot. Why not put Tvik on the fire a little bit, you know, have a bit of more spam.
Could work.
But instead, they're going to be opting to just stick with the triple support, triple tank, Denmark, a little bit different, a little bit of a twist on it. Like we said, Fischer on the Mei, very powerful on Village. You can use that ice wall to block off these exits, as you can see to the left of the point here. Very powerful composition indeed. And Denmark, they're immediately jumping onto the point. So they've got the positioning. Now the ice will come up, but all of Sweden jump onto it at the exact same time. That is how you negate it, but it doesn't matter anyway, because Denmark have found a pick. Shax brings down to Vic. The charge comes out from them. Another ice wall as well. Will they be able to block out the rest of Team Sweden? They are finding the picks just rolling in for them right now, and Denmark happily able to cap this one.
Really nice engagement from Sweden, though, as you were saying. Luddy uses his speed boost, and they all get through the wall at the same time. But even then, they're locked in a very small room. They can't back off at all if they've taken too much damage, and Denmark capitalized to perfection. So now Sweden have to keep executing the same thing. They have to play super aggressive. Nice bait of the ice wall. Fischer's not going to have that one available for another couple of seconds, 5 seconds before he has it again.
Does have the Blizzard though. Is he going to be using it now? We see the ultimate start to be used. Blizzard into the backline. Earthshatter comes down by Reinforce, but he only gets the one target down on the ground. And now they're all going to start to fall as well, as all those ultimates start to do the work. Again, Denmark holds strong.
They certainly do. It required Graviton coming out from Shax and the Blizzard from Fischer. But Sweden, I think, at some point will probably have to make changes to their composition. The way that they're running it at the moment is not too bad. They're not making major mistakes, but the Mei is so difficult to play around. This ice wall, the Blizzard. Actually great, got boosted up by the Mei wall instead, so Sweden's still able to get through the choke, but it doesn't matter when you aim icicles like that. Chip Sion takes one to the eyeball.
They're being completely blocked out here, and Johnny is caught out as well. Sweden just getting absolutely melted, much like the icicles from Fischer, if you pardon the pun, but that actually didn't make any sense. I'm not going to lie, I won't try and defend that one. That literally made 0 sense.
You are not pardoned. You will be tried, you will be prosecuted.
Not forgiven for that one. Well, we'll see if Denmark are going to be able to take this one overwhelmingly.
Sweden have some big ultimates. They're going to start with the rally, probably use the sound barrier in this fight as well and see what value they can get out of the grab. See if Sharp can redeem himself a little bit with these gravitons. They've been hit or miss, sometimes a lot of miss.
Nerf Shadow on Nerf. Can he get any value out of it? Moving around the corners, lays it down. Only partially blocked with the self-destruct in the corner. Will not find the value. Sharp uses Graviton Surge, but there was no follow-up. But it seems like now Sweden are able to turn this one around. To cluster on the fight. Reinforce cleans up nicely, which means that they are going to be able to recap this point up. So 99% still for Denmark, but Sweden finally able to just work their way onto the point.
Was looking a little dangerous for a moment. Sharp threw in his grav and got a lot of players in it. Great graviton from Sharp. At that point, Maniton throws out his self-destruct, and the idea is the Reinforce needs to charge through Nerfed and remove the Reinhardt shield. That way, the self-destruct can blow up everyone in the graviton. Bigger bang combo is what we call it. But Reinforce was too slow with his charge, and it was through sheer force of will and the poor graviton coming out from Shax that Sweden ended up winning.
So weak already though. Sweden still going to be trying to take this fight now. Swinging around, Reinforce so close to this Earth Shatter. We'll see if he can build it up. Now we're going to see now the Coalescence. Ding just keeping his team back alive. Earth Shatter used there by Nerf, which doesn't connect, but Johnny's going to be using his in return. And he does get the targets down on the ground. Nerf falls down, Blizzard used by Fisher here, along with the sound barrier. Denmark trying to turn this one for them. They are getting a pick or two, but unfortunately the stain on Sweden too much for them. Sharp gets a lovely Graviton Surge at the tail end of that fight to pick up 3 targets, which means again, Sweden holding on.
This has been a great round from Sharp so far. Every Graviton with big value. He's putting out a huge amount of damage too. Only 2 players got caught in that Blizzard. It may still have been enough to turn it if Sharp hadn't had such a good ultimate. So well played by him, certainly redeeming himself, certainly when it matters as well in this final map.
Denmark's turn. Once again, they've only got one ultimate to use, the self-destruct on Danny. I want to see how they end up using this one. They're going to be taking the speed boost once again. Now they're going to be initiating in with it, seeing if they can take it by the ice wall, blocks it off in the nick of time, but no casualties just yet. Sharp with the right click, 100 energy to his name. He is melting these targets. Denmark cannot find a way in. Now Maniton's turn to strike back. The bomb not going to be finding anything as well. Still, now we're going to see Coalescence being used by both these teams. Earthshatter by Nerf, no value from that one, but Sharp now going to be opting to use his Graviton Surge. The fight is being turned in their way. Reinforced with another Fatty Shatty, bringing 2 targets down onto the ground. And this looks like Sweden, by sheer force of will, are able to take this first round here on the ball.
Great play from Sweden to take the first stage. They looked so comfortable with this triple tank, triple support.
Johnny's gonna break that desk.
Great Earth Shatters as well, though. You smacked that desk, Reinforce, because he got some great ultimates out. He outplayed Nerfed in a lot of those situations on the Rhine v Rhine battle. Nerfed is no stranger to this hero, and Sharp by far outplayed Shax in the Zarya battle, outputting huge amounts of damage as we've come to expect, but stepping up his Graviton game massively. And that ended up being what won it for them. As soon as Sweden got one fight win, they chained them all together. Denmark could not dislodge them from the point. In theory, you can get huge value out of the Mei, but they kept juking and dodging those ice walls, baiting them out, playing around them, making sure they spread out when a Blizzard was available, and now they're going to run it again. The triple tank, triple support coming out from Sweden against a Brigitte and a Soldier from Denmark. Not particularly meta from Denmark.
Yeah, and they have actually recognized this. They're going to move all the way back to spawn again. Something that Denmark quite comfortable doing. They're going to completely change up their composition. And Sweden, they're taking the aggression to them. They're all hiding now in the lower left area.
But Danny spotted them. Danny is right above them and knows where they are. I think he's heard the sound cues because it looks like...
They might have. Now they're going to start the speed boost into the point. They've recognized now that they're not really going to be able to get maximum value against the Clara Mercy. The point unlocks now. Sweden, they do cap it up. It's ideal for them. The question is though, can Sweden get any picks now, especially when Shax going to be pressuring them down with the rockets from above? We'll soon see. Concussion Blast going to be pushing 1 or 2 players forward, but still, these constant peppering of rockets going to be doing a lot of damage now to this Sweden competition, but they do have to sustain. They can't quite bring him down though, and Shax already built up this bar. Now the Coalescence is going to be used to try and pressure him out of the air. Telex goes down, and Sweden somehow hold on.
Fisher didn't get enough value there out of the Doomfist pit. it can be super effective against what Sweden are running. But you have to be escorted into position, and a lot of the time you need the Sombra to be able to tell you which targets are vulnerable, how to be able to get on them. At the moment, not everybody's able to feed him information in the same way.
Oh, look at this now, straight into them. They're not messing around.
They know Fischer's a threat and they take him down instantly. He's been the first pick in both of these fights.
Oh, Shark's using his bars to try and turn it around. He's getting a lot of damage on him. He's trying to keep Sharp alive. He's on 100 energy. Has the Graviton Surge. Please give him some healing. Stunned up. Shaq falling low. He's caught in the Graviton Surge. Another great one coming out by Sharp once again to take him out. But Fischer now back in the fight. Denmark going to try and turn it with their primal rage. Nerds knocking these players back. Just trying to discombobulate them a little bit. See if they can get them out of the fight. Self-destruct now also being used by both these teams, but it seems like Sweden are the only ones to get anything from it, and they're still winning the fights, Josh. 76%, it's only going to go higher here. Sweden not losing any players, if any, at all, and they got ultimates as well.
All of these engages have not worked out from Denmark, and Sweden are in a great position. It can be 2-0 in this final map, and Denmark's dreams of BlizzCon could slip away from them. Their chances are already out of their hands. Shax dies first, and it's 93%. This was the final fight.
They gotta do this now, but Denmark are crumbling. They've got players on the point, but it's not good enough. They found another one, Johnny, with a charge across the map. Earthshatter for good measure. It's overtime, baby, and Denmark will not be going to BlizzCon. Sweden take the final map, and it goes the distance. And you can see how pleased they are that they ended on a high note.
Fantastic play from Sweden. I think they've redeemed themselves a little bit with those final maps. It looked terrible when they began on Lijiang, but smiles on their faces despite Sweden not going to BlizzCon, as you were saying. Denmark, though, the only way I think that they can still qualify is if Australia get 4-0'd in their final match against China.
It's going to be hard.
Very, very difficult. It's all out of their hands. I would say that they did the best they possibly could, but they were hoping for a 4-0 here. And with how Sweden have been playing earlier, perhaps that should have been what we expected. But instead, a tight 2-3 loss for Denmark. Despite looking coordinated and decisive in their previous games, they were not able to bring it today. The Battle of the Vikings goes quite firmly in Sweden's favor.
I wouldn't say firmly, mate. That map 5.
That map 5, though, was decisive. Okay. Denmark couldn't get back into it, right?
I'll give you that, mate.
As soon as Sweden took control of the point, they 100-0'd. It was only Denmark at the beginning that were able to get on control. Really, as soon as that triple tank, triple support gets in position, Sweden know how to play around it, and Denmark didn't have an answer. So great play from Sweden, and Denmark, to their credit, tried to map pick so that they could push them out of their comfort zone. But at the end of the day, that mess up on Anubis, that point A flop is flip. Flop may have been the word I was looking for, but flump works as well. Yeah. They'll be kicking themselves. I think if they look back over that VOD, Anubis is where they'll think it all went downhill, because that was big mistakes coming out from them.
And my question now as well is, where was this team Sweden earlier in the tournament?
Well, this is the pressure game. I think this is what it is.
It keeps happening, right?
You mentioned it at the beginning. Once you're officially out of a tournament, once you can no longer reach your goals and there's no pressure on you, these guys do seem to perform better. Yeah. And that's not good.
No,
that means when it matters, when there's something on the line, there's something mental, some communication issue, some mental crumbling that seems to be letting them down. Yeah. We know these guys in previous teams have been capable of top performances, but for so long now, we have not seen it. Sweden are no longer a power region in Overwatch. I love to kill the hype, Brent. I'm sorry, they've just won a match.
But you're shutting it down. Stop talking, because they got an interview on the floor. Mika's down there with Johnny, and I'm sure they're happy, unlike this sod.
What's up, guys? I am here with the one and only Reinforced, but hold on, I need a little help for this interview. All right, there we go. I am now standing on a box and can interview you. The crowd is going crazy. You have officially won the Battle of the Scandinavias, which means that you are the top Viking. So how do you feel about that?
Well, first of all, I mean, we didn't qualify, so it feels like I'm part of an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm, really. Because, I applied for the World Cup, but we didn't make it, so. But at the end of the day, when we didn't qualify, we knew that we were just had to have fun with it. This is probably my last event. I won't get another chance, Like, I want I won't be a part of OWL, you know, nobody will pick me up. So this was my last event, and I wanted to end it on a high note and be happy and, you know, be excited, and that's what we showed versus Denmark today, that even though we're out, you know, we still want to fight, and we never give up, so.
Well, if I had an Overwatch team, I would hire you for it, just so you know. But like you said, you may not have made it to BlizzCon, but do you feel like you guys played your best? Because like you said, you went out there and you won against Denmark, so you did play well. Do you feel that?
I mean, at times we did play really well, yeah. I think that, honestly, Gibraltar was one of our worst maps, but we had that composition with the Orisa Reinhardt, so we love that. But at times it felt really good, like Hollywood, we played amazingly. We held the spawn doors and we had great ultimate rotations. But then versus Australia, we really just messed it up, and we lacked some kind of leadership, and I feel very guilty and responsible for that, because I feel like I could have been there for the team when we had a lot of doubt, you know, can we beat Australia and what so. So versus Spain, it was really easy because, I mean, I was popping off and, you know, we had a good time and we were excited, but versus Australia and China, we didn't really have that. So I'm a bit sad that these guys won't be able to be at BlizzCon. I mean, I'll probably be there because I'm an analyst, but the rest of the guys, they really do deserve to be there, and I'm really sad that they won't be able to show it this year, that they are really fantastic players, despite, you know, failing here.
Well, I think that you did show that they are fantastic players, as we've seen them battle it out today. I am proud of Sweden. I know that you are proud of Sweden, and you can hang your head high, which isn't that hard because you are incredibly tall. So thank you so much for being here to talk to us, and we are going to throw it back to Brennan's Sideshow to break down what we just saw.
Thank you very much, Mika. That was a nice interview, wasn't it?
It certainly was. I think Reinforce, you know, may have made sure that he's the only Swede that made it to BlizzCon.
that interview at the end.
That was
I
amazing.
guess I'm going to BlizzCon because I'm an analyst.
Yeah. Where was Lulsish?
Enough of that. That's controversial. Anyway. We do have a nice little T-Mobile fan poll coming out, or fan pulse, I should say. I will get this sponsor segment right at some point. But here we have it. I mean, it is getting intense. I agree with you there, Stockish.
Yep.
It's been a good one. It's really shaping up quite nicely, especially after Sweden have got that win.
I agree. The three-way battle has been really interesting between the top three teams that we have here at the moment, China, Australia and Denmark. It's now looking very, very grim for Denmark. The only way that they can qualify is a 4-0 blowout with China beating
still
Australia.
Doable.
I think it's still doable. They won the head-to-head. That's the only reason that Denmark is staying in, is that they won the head-to-head against Australia. But the fact that we didn't know who would be able to qualify at the beginning, looking at this group, and we still didn't know who was really the favorites or the best teams at the end of day 2, and now at the beginning of day 3, we've been surprised again.
Oh my goodness! I think I agree with this one. It was absolutely bonkers. Josh has got some different opinions.
No,
mainly,
it was
very
bonkers.
Negative.
It was bonkers because I don't know.
Always negative.
Don't know why Denmark hadn't ever VOD reviewed Anubis Point A before. That's what.
It's pretty hard when there's like 16 maps at the board.
It absolutely is.
You know?
Yes, if we're being serious about it, part of the Overwatch World Cup is showcasing all the amazing maps that the teams have to play, and that does put a lot of pressure on the teams because they have to think about all of the different assault maps that are available, and there are a lot of them. And so if you haven't worked through every specific strategy with a team that's only had 1 or 2 months to play together, then there are going to be these holes in how you take certain fights and how you work. And at that point, it's about the team that has the most preparation and the team that's had the best coaching and strategies and analysis.
Okay, Brett. All right, pal. I know Braincast ain't going to make fun of Sideshow Gaming's shirt when I'm out here dressed like your grandmother's couch. Mate, your grandmother's very fashionable. I will tell you that.
I don't think that's
Look
true.
At this shirt. This is straight fire, mate.
It's not.
Floral patterns all the way. I'm a big fan of it. This is boring.
No.
Boring maneuvers, boring material.
Got a nice blue shirt and you're dressed like a flower garden.
You fashion out the inside of your car. Like, what's this?
It's just a normal blue shirt.
This is brilliant. I'd wear this out all the time.
It is brilliant.
I do. It's my personal shirt, pal. Please don't bully me online. No cyberbullying, please.
You can send all of your terrible tweets to @Braincasts. Please do. He reads them all, which is not good for his mental health.
I read every single one of them. Yeah, it's worrying.
But we got some highlights coming up of the game as well with Denmark-Sweden. It was an exciting one that I think was defined really. There were massive differences map to map. Like Reinforce was saying, that I think Sweden are a very inconsistent team that realized they had to play for fun in the final moments, but Lijiang was not a good start for them. They made some horrible mistakes on Lijiang, actually.
Really did.
And I thought that was just going to be the beginning of the end for Sweden, but they certainly recovered and played amazingly on Hollywood. So a very weird first half there where Sweden underperformed massively, then overperformed massively.
It was confusing, wasn't it? And we get to see a big range of different playstyles coming out from both these teams. And again, that is big. Like, I tell you what, Reinforce, he had a couple of large shatters this game.
How would you rate his performance overall? Because something we haven't talked about as much with Team Sweden is the fact that Reinforce used to be a former pro player, used to play with a lot of these guys, did not make it into the Overwatch League as a player, and instead worked as an analyst. And so this for him was his kind of final hurrah, was him getting to showcase that he does still have the skills, or at least did have the skill, to be able to hang with these guys. How did you think he did as a main tank?
Now, I'm not going to lie, I got a biased approach because I love John.
That's true.
Right? So there is a hint of bias towards my opinion on this, but I feel like he played reasonably well. I know how hard it is to find decent main tanks in general in Overwatch. It's a hard role to fulfill, especially in this day and age when you got so many bloody things flying at you. You got stuns, you got mines. It's difficult. Yeah. It's a hard job.
Uppercut,
it really is. It's a very difficult job. I felt like he played very well, given the fact that he's been out of pro play for a year. He's come back into it. I know how much work the guy's put in as well to really get up to this level again. And he has been scrimming, playing non-stop for, I kid you not, 2 months. He's just been screaming Swedish in his bedroom.
That is
so
true.
The guy has really been putting in the work, and although he's probably not going to be happy with the fact that he didn't qualify, I think this last map is really actually a good showing of how well and how he has stepped up and he can play on a high level again on the Reinhardt role.
Yeah, on the Reinhardt role particularly, I think Reinforce did very well. I think his team performed excellently when they were playing around him. I think his Winston, he ended up taking a lot of early damage in a lot of the fights, but he did have some moments where his mechanics, I think, have massively improved on that hero as well.
Yeah.
Overall, I think Sweden, they will be disappointed with how they performed. I think Reinforce may be disappointed with it overall as well, but they finished on a high.
They really did.
At the end of the day, that's what the World Cup's all about.
They proved that they were the best Scandinavian team in this group, you know?
In this group. Finland is still a lot
That's
better.
why I added in this group, Josh. You know, I wasn't going to say it,
The
mate.
Battle of the Vikings did not have the best Viking team, perhaps, because Finland are already at BlizzCon, and Denmark and Sweden, I mean, Sweden definitely aren't. We'll get to see whether Denmark are at BlizzCon in the next game, which is going to be utterly wild.
Yeah, this one is going to be one for the ages, I'm sure. Coming up next, Australia versus China. It's going to be a good one. I'm sure you're sick of hearing about us. I believe it's going to be Mr. Achilleos and Wolf taking this one away, but we'll see you after the break.